It's time for the May reading wrap up. I haven't done one of these since January, but according to my Storygraph, I've read 23 books this year and I read 10 of them in May. So let's get into what I read. First book I read was my reread of The Fragile Threads of Power by V.E. Schwab. I had just reread all of the Shades of Magic series after I got the illustrated edition of A Darker Shade of Magic, and I wanted to just revisit the world. It was fun. I already really liked this book. I have nothing new to add to the conversation about this other than I like it. So after I read that, I was revisiting Avatar: The Last Airbender series after the leak happened, and I may or may not have partaken in seeing clips of the leak or the full thing, depends on who you ask. You will never catch me as a Katang shipper, let me add that. I read The Promise and I read The Search. Both of those are set up into 3 comics each for each story arc. So The Promise is about Zuko asking Aang that if he sees him becoming like his father to kill him, much darker than the show would ever go. And it kind of has to deal with how do you unite a world post 100-Year War where there are colonies and there are people from the Fire Nation whose home is in the colonies, like they were born and raised there, and it's kind of how do you unify a broken world. And it's super interesting. It gets way more into the politics, I think, than the show would let them. And then The Search is about finding Zuko's mom, and that was really cute. That was just like a good tie-up for a loose end. And Azula is in that one as well. I like Azula. She doesn't get a redemption. I don't think she needs a redemption, if I'm being completely honest, but again, it was interesting to see. I will probably read more of those throughout the year, but I don't, I try and read some comics here and there because they're fun. Then I read The Eyes Are the Best Part by Monica Kim. And this is the story about a Korean American young woman whose father leaves them. Her mother starts dating a white man who is fetishizing not only his mother, but multiple Asian American women. And it's about her kind of losing her mind, but also taking her power back. It's a good for her horror. I'm not gonna tell you what happens because that's a spoiler, but it's graphic, it's gory, it's fantastic, good for her. I really enjoyed it. Then on the Libby app, I picked up Heated Rivalry by Rachel Reed. It's Pride Month, so I have guilt about saying this, but it's a bad book. It's not well written. Thank God that Jacob Tierney is a genius filmmaker, because I just found the writing style to be boring and lacking artful prose, because a lot of it was, and then Shane did this, and then Ilya did this, and they did this together, and then, oh, there's a smutty scene. The thought process, I understand why it would be so repetitive in someone who is coming to terms with their sexuality and dealing with toxic masculinity, but do you have to write the same sentence of, after all, I'm a big professional NHL player, over and over again? Like, there was no variety of sentences within the book. So good bones, great television show. I don't think that the book is worth picking up. And also, I think I'm just coming to terms with the fact that I am not a romance fan anymore. Okay, if you are starting your reading journey and that gets you into reading, that's great. I have literally, the shelf is mostly romance books, but I can't read the same story with the same tropes over and over again that's written at a 4th grade reading level with just a few smutty scenes sprinkled in. And there's I am just looking for romance that isn't about people falling in love, it's about people in love and maybe falling back in love, because there's so much more to life than just happily ever after. And I can't, it's not challenging me in any way. So I am currently not in a romance mood. I don't look down on them. I don't think negatively about them. I do question if that's all you're reading, you maybe want to challenge yourself just a little bit, but if you don't, hey, your prerogative, but couldn't be me. My last book of the month was Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton, and it is so well written. The book is 36 years old and it's damn near perfect. I highly recommend this. There were I can't even read individual quotes. There are pages and pages of dialogue said by Ian Malcolm that are so poignant and they just still hit home, and it's been 35 years and probably longer that we've been talking about these things and nothing changed. And there's this whole section about how we don't find scientific discovery for the sake of scientific discovery and understanding, and that we do it for the glory, essentially, and there's no progress. And I'm just like, oh my God. like shaking in my boots. So that was, you know, 5-star read. That's the best book I've read all year. I'm obsessed with it. And then I obviously had to rewatch the movie. And I would say that the biggest discrepancy that makes the book better than the movie is that John Hammond is so sinister. And there's a passage from that book where they talk about how the way he sold the concept of Jurassic Park and like got the funding for it was by toting around this like miniature elephant that wasn't even like biologically engineered. It just was basically a mutation of a pachyderm, and that's why it was so small. And I like that section is not about the elephant. The section is about the way venture capitalists go about gaining capital and return on investment that doesn't actually ever amount to a return on investment. And so I'm thinking about the way that all of these venture capitalists and like the AI bubble and how they toted this as like some groundbreaking thing, and it's not. It's actually destroying the world. And it was a great book. I highly recommend everyone pick it up, and then we can all scream about it together. That was my May reads. It was a great reading month. I hope you guys have a great day, and I'll see you later.